Think you know when someone is just being difficult? Think again. Welcome back to the Backseat Redditor. Today's final story starts with a husband who thought his pregnant wife was just using the baby as an excuse to avoid chores and adopt cats he was allergic to. I'm your host, and this is the Backseat Redditor. Let's get into the heart of this story. AITA for telling my wife that pregnancy isn't an excuse? I, 36, and my wife, 28, have been trying hard for a baby and finally got lucky with one. Although now that she is pregnant, it seems like she is using it to her advantage. She recently adopted a cat, which I'm allergic to, and said think of the baby or if the baby needs a buddy. I gave in but kept my distance around the cat. Whenever I ask her to help with some chores around the house, she always said she can't because of the baby. I tried communicating to her that I don't want the baby to be an excuse for everything. She began to yell at me, screaming, saying I have no idea what it's like to be pregnant and to get over it. It hurt me, I will admit. I stayed quiet and did everything she asked. I needed a break, no doubt. I had cleaned the house every day, went to work, took care of the cat she wanted while she quit her job and stayed home doing nothing but watching TV and ate. I did her makeup for her like she asked, rubbed her feet, massaged her, but it never seemed to be enough. One day I asked her if I could just go hang out with my friends for a bit, and she got mad and started screaming at me, saying that she needed me here. What about the baby? I was so tired and fed up that I told her to stop using her pregnancy as an excuse to get away with things. I cared about the baby, but I will not stand for this. She called me an asshole and I walked out. AITA? Update 1. My wife's sister went to talk to her and she got back to me. Apparently my wife wasn't acting like her normal self. The way she described my wife was paranoid, upset easily and speaking nonsense. I don't quite understand, but her sister told me that we should definitely speak to the doctor about it. I'm afraid and fear the worst. I asked if I should come over. She said that might not be the best plan and she will take a week off of work to help take care of her sister if anything was to happen. That she doesn't seem able to take care of herself. I agreed it would be the best course of action for right now. I'm not sure what to do now. I've never been through this before. Any help? Update 2. So I will keep this short but straight to the point. My wife went to the doctors and she has something called postpartum psychosis. I got the information from my sister-in-law. I've been doing my research about it as I know little about this diagnosis. I've came to ask for reliable sources and what to do. How can I help her? Any help is appreciated. Whether you've been through it, have experience, or just know anything about it. I thought postpartum happened after pregnancy, but this is a whole new concept. Update 3. According to a lot of comments and chat messages I received, it's actually called pre-partum psychosis, which I am very grateful for the correct term. As I was never really in the doctor's office when this was spoken, I was just referring to everything that my SAL told me. Thankfully, I have the correct term, which I'm going to be doing even more studying about this diagnosis. Thank you all for your support, help sources, etc., etc. I also realized that I have a lot of typos, which makes my story seem a little unbelievable. Which is true, I don't blame you. In all honesty, I never proofread, so I'm going to have a lot of typos. Are you trying to fix the typos as much as I can to make my story seem a little bit more sense, but the typos haven't all been caught. If you also see some lettering spaced together, that's because I was trying to save as much space as possible to write, as I am only limited to a certain amount. Not to mention, because some of them are spaced together and create a new word. So I do apologize in advance. And I do thank everybody who has been helping me. AITA for leaving my wife over a computer? I, 26M, have been married to my wife Emma for 4 years. She was a social work major who I met in one of my gen ed classes. I explained to her I was a mechanical engineering major. She then asked if I could tutor her in math, and that's how we began dating. Afterwards I decided to get my master's in Japanese to help me gain more career opportunities. My wife thought it was a silly idea and said she wouldn't be funding it, so then we decided to keep our finances separate. It wasn't a big deal since I was still working anyways. I just had less free time. So she was making more than me during this time. It paid off and I recently landed a high-paying job, and with that came more stress due to me having to travel to Japan often. I've really been wanting to get into gaming, so I invested in computer parts costing around $1,500. Once I took the parts out of the box, my wife noticed the receipt and asked how I could be so irresponsible with my money. She assumed I still made the same amount, but when I told her that I make triple that amount, she began giving me the silent treatment. During this time I began to notice my things were going missing. I wanted to go fishing with some friends one time, and when I was looking for my rods, she must have noticed and said she had given them to her uncle. I told her not to take my stuff without asking, but didn't mind too much because they were old. So I just bought some more. Another time I was about to go to the gym and I was looking for my pre-workout. I always keep 3 jars. I luckily had a can of Monster and that helped. I asked my wife when she got home from work and she said she gave them to her cousin. I asked her to reimburse me because they cost $50 a jar. She said I make enough to replace them and just ignored me for the rest of the day. One day when she thought I was asleep, she was talking to someone on the phone explaining how she's going to move my parents into our house. She hadn't explained this me. We only have 3 rooms. One is her office, one is my office/game room, and the other is our bedroom. She told the person on the phone, who I assume is her sister, that she's going to give my gaming setup to her brother to make room and that I'll get over it eventually. So today I left work early to catch her in the middle of her plans. And when I walked in our apartment, her and her brother were then placing everything into a box. I asked what was going on, and my wife, whose face was pale, said she was cleaning when her brother came by. I asked him did he plan on taking my computer. Of course he denied. So I went in the room to get the iPad we share. And I looked through the texts on there, and it clearly shows my wife telling him when to pick it up and to deny that he had it. I told him to get out and asked her why does she think she's so entitled to my stuff. I have never yelled at her, and I guess this scared her because she began to cry. She ended up packing a bag and went to stay with her sister. While she was out, I picked up a lock for my office. Her sister texted me calling Maya asshole. I'm beginning to think I could have handled this better. I'm looking for advice. Update. After about a week staying at her sister's house, Emma called me and asked if we could meet up. I agreed and we met at a park. She apologized for everything and said she thought she was doing what was best for everybody. I asked what if I just gave her expensive makeup to my sister. She admitted that she would be upset. I then asked why did she think it would be any different for me. She didn't have a reason, and her sister told her how unfair she was being to me. We decided to give it another chance and she moved back in. It was going good until she started moving her things into my office. I asked her what she was doing and she explained how she needed the room for her parents. I told her no, and that's not happening. I grabbed her things and placed them back into our office. I told her that they could move in, but my space has to remain untouched. On top of that, we need to determine how bills are going to be paid because... She called me a selfish jerk and then ran back to her sister's. I guess her sister told her she was being inconsiderate once again. And apparently they got into an argument because the sister refuses to take their parents in and said she's tired of hearing about her problems. I agree with her. Her sister has 4 kids. Her sister called and told me everything and said that Emma went to her parents' house. I tried to call her, but she ignored my phone calls for 2 weeks. I decided I couldn't live like this, so I filed for divorce and handed to her at her parents' house. She called and begged me to forgive her. I told her I'm not sure if I can. She refused to sign it until we go to counseling. I refused and said she had 2 weeks to suggest that. So now I live alone. She still refuses to sign the papers, but that doesn't stop the divorce, it just makes it harder. New update. So Emma was cheating on me. The rods and pre-workout didn't go to her family, it went to her affair partner. I found this out when her parents invited me over to their house. When I got there, Emma looked sick, like she hadn't eaten for days. Her parents asked why I kicked her out and that me neglecting her is taking a toll on her mental health. Emma sat there silently crying. I explained that I never kicked her out, and Emma refused to talk to me for weeks before I sent the divorce papers. I showed them text of me practically begging her to come home so we can talk it out. I asked Emma what did she tell her parents. Her dad chimed in saying that I would back on my word about letting her brother stay with me. I asked what were they talking about, and the reason we got into an argument is because they were supposed to move in. Emma ran to her room before she could be questioned. Her parents explained that they were happy with their home and had no plans to leave. I then showed them the text from her sister, Mary, explaining how Emma was mad at her because she couldn't take her parents in. They were confused, I was confused. So her parents called Mary to have her explain. Her brother, Jake, was also there. Emma just explained everything. Emma was cheating on me, Jake caught her and kinda blackmailed her. So he was a freshman in high school, and we live in a better district where basketball recruiting is more likely to happen. Emma thought I would be more inclined to say yes if I thought it was her parents moving in. Emma's parents called her downstairs immediately. She was listening and began to tell her side. Her affair partner's wife found out, so he thought that relationship was over because she kicked him out the house. He convinced Emma to quit her job because he got a job opportunity in a different state. But he was secretly meeting with his wife and they got back together. He hadn't put in his 2 weeks yet, so his life resumed normally. Emma, on the other hand, didn't even put in her 2 weeks and just stopped showing up, so she was fired. And when her AP told her it's over, she went into a depression and tried to call me so we can go to counseling. I told her it's over and asked that she sign the paperwork so this divorce can go smoothly. She begged for another chance, but I just left her crying. Her parents informed me later that night that Emma was in the hospital from an OD of pills. I just ignored it. Her dad is asking that I come visit to show I care. I texted back I don't care. I don't know what to do. The moment I found out about the affair, I fell out of love. But I feel cruel not going to visit. AITA for telling my fiancé my daughter has to be in our wedding? I, 45M, have a daughter, Polly, from a previous relationship. I divorced my ex-wife on good terms and we share 50-50 custody of Polly. She is now 11. After I divorced my ex-wife I met my now fiancé, Sharon. Sharon and my daughter got along very well. After 5 years in my relationship with Sharon I proposed. Sharon was super excited and wanted to start planning right away. She looked at venues and started asking her friends to be her bridesmaids. She then told me she wanted her niece to be a flower girl. Which I had no problem with, but I said I also wanted Polly to be a flower girl. Sharon looked at me funny and then said that she didn't think that Polly would fit the part. I got angry and told Sharon that my daughter would be in our wedding. Sharon started to become upset and said that the girls in the wedding were up to her and Polly wouldn't be one of them. I told Sharon that if Polly wasn't in the wedding then there might not be a wedding. I stormed out and took Polly to get ice cream. Polly knows we are getting married and told me she thinks she will look pretty whatever dress Sharon decides she should wear. This broke my heart and I decided to text Sharon. I told her I would be staying at a friend's to think this over. My MIL texted me saying I am overreacting and that my daughter doesn't have to be in my wedding and I was an ass for saying that I would cancel. So did I take it too far saying I will cancel? Am I overreacting or just being a good dad? Update. Hey Reddit. Thank everyone for all the kind words and suggestions. To answer a few questions, my daughter is not disabled, chubby, or having an awkward phase, braces/glasses. I did ask if Polly could be a groomsman. Sharon immediately shot me down. Sharon is 39, she is the same race as my daughter, this is her first marriage. I tried to answer in many comments as possible. I came home to talk to Sharon today. When I pulled in our driveway, my MIL was sitting there in her car. I got out and went inside trying to avoid talking to MIL. Sharon was sitting at the kitchen table and I joined her. She sat in silence so I asked the first question, why does Polly not fit the part, and why don't you want her in the wedding at all? Her answer full on shocked me. She quietly said, I was hoping that after the wedding you could become a holiday visit only dad. I didn't want her in the wedding so she wouldn't be in the photos around the house since she wasn't going to be around much. I kept my cool, calmly took her hand, and pulled my engagement ring off. Her eyes started to tear up. She said we shouldn't end the marriage over this and that she can change. I told her the damage was already done. I told her I wanted her things moved out by next week and that she could come get them when my daughter wasn't home. The house is in my name and I paid for it. I was allowing her to get her furniture that she paid for. She stormed out and MIL came knocking on the door saying I was being unreasonable. I couldn't imagine only seeing my daughter 3 or 4 times a year. The fact that Sharon wanted me to give up part of my custody blew me away. I'm sitting on my couch just in shock. Our honeymoon was supposed to be in Hawaii. Looks like me and Polly will be going instead. Second update. Hello everyone. Thank you for all the kind comments and suggestions for Hawaii a few days ago and Polly is already having a ton of fun. If you have any cool suggestions please drop them in the comments. As for my ex-fiancée, she has tried to reach out to me wanting to work everything out saying she only did it because her mom wanted pure grandchildren. I still do not care. If she really loved my daughter and she wouldn't have acted on her mother's wishes. Sharon has called my workplace to try and get in touch with me. She has even shown up a few times to try and talk to me and I've told my supervisor to just ask her to leave. She has gone as far as messaging my ex-wife a few times wanting to know why her calls won't go through to me. When she caught wind that we were in Hawaii she was pissed. I'm still close with her brother, and he told me that her and her mom were going to try and get plane tickets. If that's the case I will likely file a restraining order. Polly has asked what happened to Sharon and I told her that we come as a package deal and Sharon only wanted me and I couldn't leave her. Polly understood but I think she was a little heartbroken. I know this update is small but it's all I have for those asking. Final update. I realized I forgot to do an update. Polly and I had an epic time in Hawaii and she's already talking about wanting to go back. Turns out when my ex-fiancée and her mom tried to buy tickets the airlines were sold out. Instead they decided to leave piles of letters at my door. There were maybe 50 envelopes full of pages about how I need to take Sharon back. I honestly didn't read through them all and discarded most of them. So far I've coincidentally run into Sharon at grocery stores and gas stations and not paid any attention to her. She attempted to show up at my daughter's meet the teacher night but since she didn't have a kid she wasn't allowed in. From what I have heard through her brother and dad she already has a new boyfriend and just wants to get back at me now. As for me I've out in a restraining order on Sharon. I did see comments asking if I was going to attempt to date again. Let's just say I took my ex-wife with me to Hawaii and we decided to try again. All in all I'd say I don't expect to be hearing from Sharon or her mother again. And my ex-wife has now moved back in with my daughter and I. Thank you all so much for your support throughout this time. That story took a turn I don't think any of us expected. It's a powerful reminder that sometimes what looks like a character flaw is actually a cry for help. Have you ever been in a situation where a medical diagnosis completely changed how you viewed someone's behavior? Let me know in the comments, I read every single one. If you want more high-stakes Reddit stories, hit that subscribe button to join the Backseat Redditor. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.